Hey everyone, it's me, and today we're going to look at Harry Potter Part 11, so let's get into it. Number 11, it kills by direct eye contact. The basilisk, which is an extremely dangerous creature that lives in the Chamber of Secrets, can kill with just its eyes. If you meet its gaze, then you will die. Now, we see this when Ron is petrified, but then Hermione is also nearly petrified by the basilisk because she looks into the snake's eyes. However, she manages to escape death. We then later find out that the basilisk was actually killed by Fawkes, Dumbledore's phoenix, who pecks the monster in the eye and thus dies itself from the Horcrux inside of the chamber. Harry then destroys the diary containing the soul fragment of Lord Voldemort, which was residing in Ginny Weasley, making the basilisk's rampage come to an end. After this, we find out that it was actually Tom Riddle who opened the chamber and had been controlling Ginny, using her as his pawn in order to petrify students at Hogwarts. And I think this is one of the creepiest things that has happened so far in the series. I mean, he basically brainwashed Ginny and used her like that. It is, however, very cool how the basilisk petrifies people. So even if you didn't die from its eyes, you would still become a statue and then be stuck like that forever. I think this is a very unique way for an animal to kill, but it makes sense in the context of the story. Like, the basilisk is obviously meant to represent Salazar Slytherin, who wanted to get rid of Muggle-born students, and snakes are known for their ability to hypnotize people, so it is fitting that the basilisk's main attack is through the eyes. Number 10, it travels through the school's plumbing. When the second task of the Triwizard Tournament arrived, all of the champions were required to rescue someone important to them from the depths of the Black Lake, and Harry chose to save Ron, who had been taken by a However, after searching for him underwater for what seemed like forever, Harry couldn't find Ron anywhere. Luckily, Ron managed to free himself and swim to the surface where Harry could pull him out of the lake. However, they had no idea how Ron had managed to get away from the but it turns out the answer was the pipes underneath the lake. This is because there are pipes underneath the Black Lake that connect to the Chamber of Secrets, and this is the only way that the monster could have gotten from the chamber to the dungeons and then eventually to the lake. Pipes are obviously quite useful, but I do wonder why there are pipes leading to the Chamber of Secrets. I mean, it makes sense that there would be pipes leading to the dungeons, but not to the chamber. Maybe the pipes were there in case something needed to escape the chamber, or maybe it was so that the chamber could drain water from the lake. I don't know, what do you guys think? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. No. 9. Ginny Weasley is taken into the chamber. When Harry was looking for Tom Riddle in the Chamber of Secrets, he instead found Ginny Weasley laying on the floor, completely unconscious. He quickly ran over to her and picked her up, and it looked like she was going to die right there in front of him. Then, just as he thought she might actually die, she opened her eyes and said, "Help me." Then, before Harry could respond, she fainted once again. Harry then placed Ginny onto a nearby table and climbed down into the chamber. Leaving her there, he went over to the other side of the room and confronted Tom Riddle, who was at first disguised as a ghost. At this point, Harry had no idea what was happening. He knew that Ginny had been taken into the chamber, but he had no clue why or how. He was desperate to save Ginny, but he also had no idea how. It must have been so scary for him, especially since Tom Riddle was pretending to be a ghost. I think out of all the times Harry was trapped in the chamber, this time was probably the scariest. No. 8. The school is officially closed. During the events of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, there is a lot of talk about how Hogwarts is too old, and honestly, I've always agreed with that statement. I mean, the school is practically falling apart, and it seems like it's on the verge of collapsing whenever Harry and company traveled through the corridors. Well, Hogwarts isn't just old, it is also incredibly dangerous because during the events of Chamber of Secrets, the entire school is shut down because of the monster running loose. No students are allowed to leave their common rooms, and they are heavily restricted on what they can and cannot do. In fact, at one point, Ron tries to sneak out of the Gryffindor common room, so he can help Harry and Hermione investigate the attacks, but he ends up getting stopped by a very strict curfew. And I think this shows that Hogwarts wasn't prepared for what was happening. Yes, the school is old, but it is also magical, and I feel like Hogwarts should have some kind of defense against monsters running loose. Obviously, this doesn't happen in the books because otherwise the story wouldn't work. But still, it would have been nice to see what kind of measures Hogwarts put into place to protect their students. Instead, we are told that they basically just stayed in their common rooms until everything was over. And number 7, Lockhart is told to rescue her. After finding Ginny in the chamber, Harry left her behind and went to confront Tom Riddle. and while he was gone, Lucius Malfoy, who had secretly been in the chamber the whole time, came over to Ginny and took her wand. This was obviously very bad news for Harry, because now he not only had to deal with Tom Riddle, but he also had to worry about what Lucius was doing with Ginny. Fortunately for Harry, Dumbledore noticed Lucius taking Ginny's wand and decided to take action. So he tells Gilderoy Lockhart, a professor at Hogwarts, to go and rescue Ginny, and at first, Lockhart is pretty hesitant. This is because Dumbledore had asked Lockhart to retrieve Harry from the Chamber of Secrets earlier, but Lockhart had refused, claiming that he couldn't go into the chamber because he had no idea what kind of monster was inside of it. However, when Dumbledore told him that he needed to save Ginny, Lockhart agreed to go. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I really dislike he is such a self-absorbed person, and I just can't stand him. However, despite disliking him, I do have to admit that he was brave in this moment. Sure, he was only trying to save Ginny to make himself look better, but regardless of his motivation, he still agreed to save her, even though he was terrified. Personally, I think it was good that Lockhart was the one who went to rescue Ginny. This is because Harry was still in the chamber dealing with Tom Riddle, and I think he would have been able to save Ginny if he had been occupied. Plus, I feel like Harry would have been too emotional if he had been the one to rescue Ginny. You know, he was in love with her at this point. So it probably would have been difficult for him to be objective and rational, and those traits are definitely needed in order to defeat Tom Riddle. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Also, if you have any video suggestions, then leave them in the comments. I'll see you next time.